Love seeing everyone's faces out here. All aboard the SSTLI. Thank you, District 3 Toastmasters, for joining us today for an experience like no other. For starters, I want to see a raise of hands since this is going to be an engaging experience. We want to walk back and forth. How many of you have been on a cruise before? All right, a couple people now. Just imagine what the cruise is. It's an experience where you get a group of individuals together. We're heading towards a destination, and it's an all-inclusive trip or vacation. Now, there's a lot of different types of people on this cruise. We have those individuals that will go and stay in the room or maybe just go on the pool deck. They'll relax, soak up the sun. They'll have a nice time. There's also others that will go and embrace the experience. They'll go to all of the restaurants that are there. They'll play cards, poker, mini putt-putt, maybe even have an opportunity to serve. There's so many experiences that you can do on the cruise, but it's your choice. There's one price for admission. You'll end in your final location, but that experience based off of what you do yourself. Now, why am I talking about a cruise? Probably because it relates to Toastmasters. Yes, Toastmasters is just like going on a cruise. You sometimes get free food, but most importantly, you are the one who has that ticket for an all expense paid for leadership experience. Some of us will go and just experience our club. Others will get engaged. They'll do as much as they can to take out the most experience and personal development from Toastmasters. So today, we're going to start by sharing some of the goals that we all have in terms of Toastmasters. Talk about some opportunities to go beyond the club, take on strategies to become the best version of ourselves, and ultimately hear a few personal stories. Most of us have a passion for Toastmasters. We had a phenomenal experience, and that's why we wanted to give back. Ultimately, we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to have that same experience, to learn from others, utilize the diverse environment that we're in, to ultimately learn ideas, make sure that it can be inclusive for the next generations or the next set of leaders. And when we see folks that take on leadership roles, that's typically why they're here. Now, all of us have different levels of Toastmasters experience. There may be some that this is their first TLI. And for those of you that are here, we're so excited for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube at this point, thank you so much for taking the time. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to go beyond your club and be successful. So next, we want to make sure that we're focused on how we can actually go beyond the club. And for starters, I want to see a raise of hands if you are a member of a second club, or if you've gone to a second club rather than your home club. Okay, so we have some hands up right now. I think that's the first step beyond just being leadership of your own club. It's actually going out and taking part in different clubs. That way you can see what's going on. Now, how many of you are familiar with the Pay It Forward program that's been going on? Okay, a couple hands. For those of you that aren't aware, there's an opportunity for your club to sign up to make sure that you are extending your arms for other members of Toastmasters to come visit your club. Ultimately, what you're able to do is start learning the tribal knowledge of Toastmasters. What works in that club? What have they done well? What have they not done well? And then you're going to take it back to your club and hopefully implement some amazing strategies. Now, as you can imagine, the district as a whole is so excited about the opportunity to share this knowledge with everyone. So they created the Pay It Forward program so that the clubs that do the most visits of the different clubs, they actually get a prize. And I want to make sure that all our clubs are signed up for the Pay It Forward program because it's such a unique opportunity and it allows us to get engaged. Now, next question, I want to ask, how many of you have either participated or volunteered in a contest? All right. I think I almost see all of our hands up for everyone that's online, which is fantastic. I think that's a very easy way beyond just going to another club meeting to start to dip your toe in the water. This gives you an experience to start flexing your speaking skills. See how you compare to others and start to take away different skills for public speaking that you really are focused on. That's the mission of Toastmasters, become better speakers and leaders, grow the membership, and ultimately, if we're able to go to positive clubs and positive contests, it's going to create an environment where we're able to bring in friends and family and whoever else to our experience. Now, with the contests, they go up at progressively more levels where we can take it to the international stage. We also have that opportunity to take up our leadership ultimately to the international level. And Tim, I know that you're on here as a past international leader, so thank you so much for all that you've done, and you're a mentor to so many of us. A round of applause there. But if we want to go beyond just the speaking side of things, we can go ahead and get involved in our board, which I think if you're a part of this TLI right now, you're probably a part of your club's board. But then you have an opportunity to take it up a notch. You can go and volunteer at the area level. You can be in charge of 5 clubs, and you can make sure that all those clubs have the opportunity to be successful like your club. Or if maybe there's a struggling club, you get an opportunity to make sure there's a progressive dialogue. It gives you skills that will allow you to be successful. Beyond there, you can go to the district, you can go to the division level, and then the district level, and continue to go up the chain of leadership. Now, I want to see another show of hands. How many of you have been area directors so far? Okay, so about half of us in the room. I think there's a great opportunity for all of you that are here right now to think about taking on the area division for our last Saguaro area. We'll talk a little bit more about the time commitment later in this presentation, but it's an awesome opportunity to continue to be involved in Toastmasters and take skills that you gain from this to your life. Now, if you aren't quite sure if you want to be an area director and you're not sure what you want to be, there's also an opportunity to be a committee member. We know that for the district level, there's 3 main roles. We have our division director, we have our quality director, and our growth director. Now, each of these individuals, they need support. They have a lot to take on. So ultimately, we can offer our services to take on a position. For myself, Janice mentioned it earlier, I took on the role as the growth research chair. My task was to go out in a COVID environment and try to find new areas or new places to start growing clubs. And as you can imagine, it was quite a difficult task. We didn't even know what we were doing with our own club for some of the time. And to go out to find a new club seemed like a challenge. But this was an opportunity to learn. How do you commit to something, identify adversity or change, and then power through? Ultimately, we have a lot of support, and that's something that's been so powerful. And that's one of the reasons why I love to give back, because there's so many who have made my role easier for me the years before. The last opportunity for most of us to go beyond the club is to speak in opportunities, whether it's TLI, other conferences, or other opportunities. I think Dan talked about the fact that you can take what you learn in Toastmasters and you can go ahead and bring it to different parts of your life. There's so much that we get from Toastmasters, and I love that we're having all these stories and sharing. Oftentimes, one of the reasons why people are concerned about getting involved in Toastmasters or getting more involved in Toastmasters is because they're concerned with, what does that commitment look like? What's my time commitment? Am I really able to do all the things that they're asking me? And the reason why I chose this picture, you'll see there's a thing of carbon and then a diamond. Ultimately, it does take time, it takes pressure, it takes energy to change that piece of carbon into a diamond. But it's a jewel and something that holds immense value we all look to, and it's a great experience. But carbon's good for so many other things as well. We look back at it and we see what it's created or the history there, and we can get a lot from it. Now, Toastmasters can be something very similar. You don't necessarily have to put in a whole lot of time, and you're going to get something out of it. But the more time we put in, ultimately, the more we're going to create. The time commitment for the different roles are going to be dependent on you. If we're going to visit another club, you could just go to one. That will take you an hour, hour and a half, maybe. If you get involved in the area, you're maybe spending a couple hours a week, every other week. You're going to have a little bit more in terms of commitment, just based off of what's going on around the year. Same with the division, the district level. It's all based off of what's going on. But if you truly want to take something away from Toastmasters and take that and let it parallel your life so that you can live the life that you want to live, you're going to spend time there. I think that all of us want to be better versions of ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to spend time in that space. Now, we have lives as well beyond Toastmasters. We have a joke at Dobson Ranch Toastmasters because we have a member called Bruno Forte who brings in a ton of members. And so jokes have been made that it's an MLM and Paul gets a bunch of referral fees for bringing new members. But I think we all know that's not the case. We don't get paid for Toastmasters. So we have to make sure that we do have other jobs and we have the ability to bring in income so that we can experience this. So I'm going to share just a few quick tips that I found are really helpful so that you're able to manage all the time that it does take to be able to stay involved with life as a whole and then also your own club. When we talk about some different ways to accomplish everything, I think Dan pointed out it's time blocking, scheduling out the next week, the next month, the next year. We're very fortunate because we have a fantastic district leadership that puts a calendar out well in advance. So if you go to aztoastmasters.org, you can go to the event calendar and see everything for the next year. Now, updates and changes may happen, but that's why we have opportunities to stick together as a club and get updates. But we can put that in our calendar. Once we're able to time block, we can commit ourselves to a certain amount of time for different tasks. If we don't complete it in that length of time, we may have to reevaluate how long different tasks take. And that's part of self-development as well. We need to understand how we're able to accomplish what needs to be done. And if we need to bring in others, that's a way that we can start to multiply our time, multiply our efforts. I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from Toastmasters is the willingness from others. Tim talked about it already in terms of being able to be told by some of the Toastmaster members, hey, check out this club or check out this club. When we're going up the ranks of leadership, there's so much support. There's people that are here that want to share their tribal knowledge with us and make sure that we're going to be successful. It can be a little daunting at the start to ask for this help, but ultimately you'll realize that we're in an environment that is so positive, uplifting, and want to really focus on the fact that everyone's successful, having a good time, that it just breeds this mentorship, the coaching, the ability to have conversations. I think that's something that's so powerful. Now, when we talk about accomplishing goals, ultimately it takes us to our outcome and the success we see. And one of my favorite examples of success in Toastmasters is my good friend Tutor Melville. And for those of you that don't know Tutor, I just want to show a quick picture on the screen and then I'm going to let him talk. Tutor is an amazing gentleman, so much so that Chandler, the entire city of Chandler, we know how big it is, they decided to recognize him as one of the men of the year for 2021. He does a ton of ministry work. He gives out thousands of tons of food every single week. If you know anyone that is maybe struggling a little bit right now and needs food, make sure you get connected with Tutor because he will help you with there. Beyond that, he's a fantastic business owner and does so many other great things. But Tutor, thanks for being on. I'd love for you to share a little bit with this group about how, first off, a couple of times you got involved in Toastmasters, but how it's really affected your life and changed your life.
Well, thank you, Ryan. It's an honor to be here. And I'm glad Tim's on because, Tim, you're part of my speech this morning. And what I want to talk about is what happened this morning, how I found out about this Zoom call. I was doing a 5K with Ryan this morning, running up South Mountain. Now I'm running up with 5 other guys that are half my age, and I'm trying to keep up with them. And to find out that Ryan did a 7:47, that means he averaged 7:47 on a 5K going up a hill, was pretty impressive for me this morning. But I was happy that I was able to finish it at 39 minutes. And then right after that, Ryan said, hey, would you be willing to speak at my TLI meeting this morning? I said, absolutely. I always jump at the opportunity, but that was never the case prior to 2005. Many of you know Paul Brunaforte. He's my cousin, my first cousin, my best friend. And in 2005, he kept bugging me and bugging me and bugging me to go to a meeting called Dobson Ranch Toastmasters. And reluctantly, I went. Now, wouldn't you know it, the day I show up, a speaker didn't show up. And Paul asked me to do an icebreaker. Do you know how frightening that would be to go to a club like Dobson Ranch and have to do an icebreaker? Well, I did the icebreaker. I bombed it. It was terrible. And I didn't go back for 7 years. That's right. 7 years I was not there. I didn't have the self-esteem. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't feel I fit in. Listening to Michael Desiderio do a speech, I'm thinking there's no way that I could get to that level. So why am I wasting my time? So in 2012, again, my cousin talks me into not joining, but just going to another Dobson Ranch meeting. So I show up in 2012, and again, a speaker didn't show up. Yeah, I didn't even want to be there, folks. That's the last thing I want to do is do another icebreaker. Well, I did an icebreaker at Dobson Ranch and won best speech of the day. I felt so good about doing that. It definitely helped my self-esteem. And then right after I won that speech, it wasn't a week later, they said, hey, how would you like to join the board and be a board member? I said, sure, what the heck? So I became a board member. And then in 2014, I met this guy named Tim Swearingen, and I said, Tim, I need your help. I need Rose and you to join a club with me and charter Dobson at Sunset in 2014. And he jumped on it. They both helped me start this club, and it's still going today, Dobson at Sunset. And on top of that, I volunteered. I was like a Ryan Berns. I was just doing whatever was needed for Toastmasters. If they asked me to do something, I'd be the first one to raise my hand. So I was awarded Toastmaster of the Year in 2015 for the Zuni division, and that was really an honor. But I want to talk to you about what it's done for me outside of Toastmasters. It's given me the ability to go on stage and speak. I was asked to go to a church in Chandler called Bethel Church, very large church. I was invited to a luncheon to go on stage with 3 other business owners and talk about our ministry. We have a ministry down in Mexico, Rocky Point, Mexico. In fact, I'm leaving on Monday, and this will be trip number 49 since COVID hit. And we go down to Rocky Point, we feed the homeless literally every week, and we bring about 1,000 pounds of food in a small little Prius. I know you're wondering how the heck they get 1,000 pounds of food in a Prius. Trust me, we have figured it out on the 49th trip. But we go down there, we feed the homeless, we go into the federal prison. We've been doing that for 7 years in that federal prison. When I walked into that prison 7 years ago, there was over 500 inmates. It's down to 140. We built a church inside that prison. It's changed their lives. And we put in a tortilla factory. They're the largest manufacturer of tortillas in Rocky Point inside the prison. They're making 8,000 to 10,000 tortillas a day. And it's changed many lives. There's 14 employees in that prison. But I was really honored to receive an award just a couple of weeks ago with Chandler. Again, if it wasn't for Toastmasters, that would have never happened. And the reason it happened is because it all started in 2005 down in Rocky Point, Mexico. In 2009, we visited an orphanage, found out they didn't have any food. So we started bringing food to the orphanage in 2009, and we've never missed a trip where we didn't bring them at least $500 to $1,000 worth of food every time we go down there. And then on top of that, we've been asked to speak many, many times about our food distribution. I want you to picture something. We're giving away food at the house, and we get a call from the USDA, Food and Drug Administration. Now, talk about your heart falling when they said they were from the Food and Drug Administration. Immediately, I thought, what did I do wrong? What happened? And they said, Tutor, we understand you're giving away food at your house. And I said, reluctantly, yeah, I am. Is there a problem? And she says, no, not a problem at all. In fact, we want to know if you'd like some more food. And I said, well, how much food do you have? She says, we have 7 million pounds of food and we have 45 days to get rid of it. We need your help. So we jumped on it and we started distributing food throughout the state of Arizona. And we distributed to date over 7 million pounds in Chandler, Phoenix, Prescott, up in the Indian Reservation, to the all over the state. It's been amazing. So I volunteer down at a food bank every Wednesday. I work about 8 to 10 hours driving a forklift, driving their trucks, delivering food all over the state. And for that, they allow me to take as much food as I want home. So we distribute food out of the house, about 20,000 pounds a week. Cars pull up. They're there for about 30 seconds. We have volunteers outside the house. They fill up the car and the car takes off. So that's how it has happened in my life. And that would not have happened if it wasn't for Toastmasters. And I'm just so proud. I got to mention this. I'm so proud that Tim has been with this for 25 years. And if it wasn't for Tim Swearingen, I'm not sure these districts would be doing as well as they are doing today. But he's always there. And that's what's so powerful. Tim, we've kind of disconnected over the last few years, but COVID has had that impact on all of us. But now I get to deal with Ryan, and Ryan Berns is part of my team. We meet every day, guys. Every day we have an accountability group. And Ryan, I'm so proud of you. And I just cannot say enough about it. But again, Tim, thank you so much. You helped me beyond your imagination. I'm telling you, you've given me so much wisdom, and you've given me the confidence to keep Dobson at Sunset still going 6 years later. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Tutor. We see the impact that Toastmaster has on our lives, and it goes so much further than the club itself. It's fun to go to these club meetings, get to hang out with our friends, our communities, practice some skills, but it's so much more than just ourselves. And Tim spoke about legacy a little bit, and in the previous presentation, Lynn was talking about legacy. It's the fact that you can have an impact on one person's life, and then they'll go out into the world and they'll have an impact on one person's life. And then those two people will ripple out. And that's the great thing about Toastmasters is we go out, we help one another, we understand what organizational structure looks like so that we can bring it to our own lives and then start to implement massive change. And it starts because of Toastmasters. When we have people that are getting a great experience from this, they want to stay involved, they want to volunteer. That's why I'm here. I had a phenomenal first day at Dobson Ranch Toastmasters, got involved, and within 2 weeks, I was a sergeant of arms. Within 6 months, I was the president and an area director. It's crazy what time does, and I continue to be involved. And ultimately, I think that makes an experience better for everyone moving forward. At the district level, there's more individuals that care, that want to make a difference. DJ Reed really struck a chord with me when she put her hat in the ring to be the growth director. She said, yes, I'm committing the next 4 years to the district, to you all. And that's meaningful to have someone say that they want to cause an impact, they want to have change, and they want to volunteer their time. It's so meaningful, and it trickles down. When we have positive district leaders, it goes to our club, and we have positive club leaders, the members have a great time, and when the members have a great time, they see massive success. They've got examples like Tutor, who's now one of the top guys in Chandler. And it's because of Toastmasters, but it's because it goes up. So I really challenge all of you to get involved in Toastmasters. Go beyond your club. Find an opportunity to start by just going to a different club. Learn what they're doing well. From there, pay it forward. Invite others to your club. Start a little bit of a mentorship program going. Understand that all the leadership here, all prior leadership, their emails, their LinkedIn, Facebooks, they're always open. You'll get their contact, and they're always going to answer that phone call. Ultimately, we want you to have the confidence to go out there and be an agent of change. Promote what Toastmasters is up to. Rise up and make a difference. We know there's opportunities for us all to have an impact in the area right now. For starters, we need another area director for Saguaro. We also are going to need more committee members. If you haven't signed up for a role, if you think you may have a little bit more capacity, please reach out to me, reach out to district leadership. We want your support. Or if you know someone who wants to grow a little bit on their own, we have enough support to bring on new members that understand what it takes and really believe in Toastmasters as an organization. If you believe in this mission of the organization, you're going to be successful. If you stay positive, resilient, work hard every single day, you will accomplish your goals. Again, we're all here for a reason. Let's remember what that destination is. We can choose on our cruise ship to just stay on the pool deck, stay in our room. We can get there slowly but surely, or we can get out there. We can meet others, we can take on leadership roles, and we can really build ourselves. So that goal we have, we pass it very quickly, and we learn of new possibilities. Are there any questions that Janice have been in the chat or anything? If anyone wants to come off of mute, feel free to ask some questions.
Do we want to go back to that previous question that was on the chat?
Yeah, I'd love to go back to that previous question. I believe it was, what's the biggest impact Toastmasters has had on me? Is that right?
That is correct.
There's so many different avenues that I've seen Toastmasters affect my life. There's more self-confidence. And I always felt like I could be social, but it was more in my own cohort of friends. Playing sports growing up, I mean, you see, whereas right here, these are all my ASU lacrosse buddies. We were a close-knit group, but college life to now is totally different. There is a little change that had to happen, some personal development for myself, and Toastmasters has acted as that workout, if you will. If we want to lose weight, we can't just expect to go to the gym once and be fit, trim, ready to go to the beach. It takes constant work. We have to show up day after day after day. So for me, Toastmasters has been that opportunity to practice what I preach, to think about the goal that I have in mind, have a successful business, successful family, be the best version of myself every single day, whether it's being the best son, brother, boyfriend. Eventually, there's going to be enough people that are looking at me to be myself. And if we're fake, or if we're not telling ourselves the truth, or not taking actions that are real, we're not going to live up to those expectations. But if that's our authentic self, if we've had the practice, if we've had the discipline, the mentorship, the support to be able to be successful, then it's easy, it's fun. It just seems an opportunity like this to just share a perspective. When I was asked to get on here, this may be my favorite part of Toastmasters so far. It's speaking in these big groups. I get to share my experience, and hopefully you all find some value from this. I love saying a thing or two, as I think everyone's seen from the previous conversations I'm in. I'm always raising my hand, like Tutor has said, of just jumping in, getting involved. And it just pays off immensely. It's come to my real life, my real life, which is the same thing here, and see just success everywhere. And that's why I'm so passionate about giving back, because I know others can become great individuals. They can create a lot of change, create success, whatever that looks like to them. And if they are involved with Toastmasters, they pay $45 every 6 months to get that. Whereas you pay thousands of dollars for other programs. And I've done it, but Toastmasters blows me away in terms of what you get from it. Are there any other questions, Janice?
I do have another question.
Okay.
How did you find your mentor?
Mentorship is one of those things that is so dynamic. I heard someone talking in the previous conversation about there's seasons of mentorship, because there are seasons of life. We may be really passionate about business in one quarter or a 1 year, 5 year period. Then we may want to switch to family, personal development, giving, legacy, whatever it may be. What I like to do is find someone who is really exhibiting what I want to become. So for Toastmasters, I'm very fortunate because Dobson Ranch Toastmasters, before COVID started, we had 60 members. We had a wait list of 5 to 6 members just to get in. And that's because we had a very strong group of individuals that have been a part of the club for 10, 20, 30 years. So it was really easy for me to go up and shake their hands, say, hey, I'm Ryan, what's your name? And then just start a dialogue. I'm someone who takes a little piece of everyone that I talk to. So whether you realize it or not, you're going to be my mentor, because I'm going to like how you talk to your family. how you always have a smile, how you work hard, how intelligent you are, whatever it is, I'm going to identify that and say, hey, this is a good trait. This is a skill that I want to continue to develop or surround myself with someone who has that. And I'm going to use you as a mentor there. So ultimately, when we talk about mentorship, you can have defined mentorship, and your VP of education should help you connect there, and just you'll have at least someone to talk to. But for me, I really think about what my personal board of directors should look like. Who do I need to be talking to make sure that I'm ultimately taking the right action and steps to be successful? And it starts by just taking a little bit of something from every single person out there. And then as you continue an authentic relationship with them, you're going to see what traits really stick out, what they do very well. And you go, okay, this is someone I need to talk to more than once every 6 months or once a year. Well, let's start a regular cadence in terms of a conversation.
Excellent job, Ryan. I've one more question. What is the most beneficial role you can have in Toastmasters?
I think that's a fantastic question. My experience is maybe limited compared to the positions of everyone. So I'll share my experience, but then I'd love to open it up. I'd love to hear from some of the more tenured Toastmasters that have held some higher district roles. For me, I think the most impactful has been this division director role so far. It's something I'm getting into. And the reason why I say that is because this gives me the closest look at what's going on at a district level. I'm finally starting to understand what the district leadership looks like, what the divisions look like, the area directors, the clubs themselves, and how this all forms together to a cohesive unit. And I can imagine as you continue to move up the ranks, that the leadership helps you understand a little bit more what's going on so that you can think about the end user. And if you think about just the member at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they have a great experience. So I think it's always the current or the next position is going to be what's most important. And as long as you can stay involved in Toastmasters and always look either up or sideways, down, just find a role within the district so that you can be engaged. And I think staying present in that is uber important. But I would like to ask if anyone else has a comment in terms of what their most important, most impactful, favorite role has been within the district or within international Toastmasters. Tim, I don't know if you want to pop off the mute. I'd love to hear that answer from you as well.
Ryan, I have a question, another question. How did you know you would be a great fit for leadership?
I'm happy to dive into that one. Is Tim still on the line? Just going back to the previous question, Tim, I'd love to hear from you if you have an answer to what the most impactful role is in Toastmasters.
I think the most impactful roles are the ones that you don't plan to get. To be completely blunt with everybody, no one joins Toastmasters thinking they'll be an international director someday. The thing that I love the most about this role is I feel like it's earned me the place of leading from the back of the room. I absolutely love empowering other people so that they can be upfront on stage, doing what they need to do, expanding their horizons in the belief that other people have had in me when I didn't believe in myself is incredibly powerful. I have two favorite pictures of mine from my Toastmasters journey. One was in August of 2004. It was a Friday night dinner in Toronto, Canada, and Nancy Starr-Cassidy had been elected to the board of directors earlier that day. And as a district, we were all out enjoying the dinner together. Nancy and I were off at one end of the table. And I was then a lieutenant governor. I don't know nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was a month and a half into the role. And Nancy said all these wonderful things to me about how she thought I'd be a great international director someday. And someone took a picture of us having that conversation and sent it to me. And then she said, I said, no, and gave like a dozen reasons why that wasn't going to happen. And she said, when you're ready, I'll be there for you. And the other picture I have is in August of 2008, and we're in Calgary, Canada at the International Convention. And we were on the convention floor, and we were waiting for the ballot counts to come back from the vote for my campaign as district director. And there's Nancy standing next to me, along with Ralph Wallace, who's the past mayor national director, and along with Rose, who was just helping, and we were just friends at that time. And I kind of look at that as promise made in 2004, and then Nancy kept that promise. And so the second picture is promise kept. And it's the experience of being at the back of the room and empowering people like Ryan and Tutor and Martha and Michael to do things that they might not have seen themselves do. I'm very excited to work with Michael and his campaign to be an international director, because I see in Michael somebody who will do that role so much better than I did. He's exactly what our organization needs at this time in this place. And so that's the empowering part of it. If you want the hard and fast, what's my first step outside a club to go get involved? I'm going to say, go be an area director. If you can't be an area director, be an assistant area director, because that's the role. Area directors are the face of Toastmasters International to our clubs, not a division director. Ryan, if you start visiting clubs, you and I will have a conversation. Not a division director, not a district director. That's the one where the rubber meets the road for being the face of Toastmasters International to their clubs. Past that, get involved in some other committee that helps you expand. Working on the TLI committee, it ended up giving me a career opportunity when I had to pivot from being a structural engineer. I ended up being a trainer in corporate America. I wrote the training for Google AdWords, for crying out loud, because of things I had learned as a TLI chairperson and facilitator. So I think it really is what you need in that season. Thanks for the opportunity, Ryan.
Martha had a question. How did you know you would be a great fit for leadership?
Well, Martha, thank you so much for the question and saying that I'm a great fit for leadership. I think it may be a little bit like what Tim's saying. We may not necessarily know what the right role is, but it shows up. I've been told to be a leader my entire life and didn't necessarily want to agree with it or believe it at the start, but always found myself in those different roles, whether it's being a captain on a team, being a president of a club. There was always a reason why. Maybe it was no one else was stepping up, and I felt an obligation or just something pulling at me to be the one to take control, or at least take a little bit of responsibility, because I think some of the best leaders, as we've heard on this, they're the ones that are leading from the back. I heard an amazing analogy about a group of explorers going through a dark cave. Now, some leaders would be up at the front with the flashlight. They'd be shining it and just leading the way and having everyone follow them. But if there's only one flashlight, those guys in the back, they could still trip, they could fall. But it's a leader who lets his team go first. He's in the back, shines that flashlight, maybe from up above so everyone can see. That's the leader that is so impactful. And for me, I think this is a journey. It's how can we continue to empathize with others? How can I learn more about myself? What are my communication styles, leadership styles? What are some of my tendencies that I need to make sure that I'm aware of if I get put into a stressful situation? And we're going to continue to learn. We're going to ask for feedback from others. We're going to find out how different individuals respond to those same stressors. I get to figure out what I like to do. And I think that idea that I always stay positive, I always work hard, but I also feel like I always need to learn. And keeping an open mind and willingness to be able to learn from others, I think, is something that great leaders exhibit. And that's something that I really try to focus on right now. So much so that I've taken Pathways Level 4. One of the electives you can do is start a podcast. I started a podcast called the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. And because I love lacrosse, and I also love this idea of leadership. And I've joined them together, and every single week, I interview different leaders, whether they're Division I lacrosse coaches, professional players, just someone who's a parent of a youth player. Everyone has a perspective on leadership, and I get to use that as an opportunity to start learning some other perspectives. We've got this massive world right now. Martha, you talked about visiting a club that the conversations are primarily in Portuguese. That's unbelievable. And I truly feel grateful for the fact that we get to talk with so many individuals and a community like Toastmasters. Everyone has open arms. They're willing to share, shake hands, hug after the first conversation. It's truly remarkable to be a part of this. And I'm grateful that I've been able to have the opportunities to take on leadership. And I'll keep going as far as I can as long as there's people willing to help.